Have you ever set your alarm early, full of motivation, only to silence it and wake up hours later with a heavy feeling in your chest? That feeling that whispers, "I'll start tomorrow." And tomorrow never really comes. Let me ask you something honestly. If you work hard, if you stay busy all day, why does your life still feel stuck? Most people think success comes from working longer hours, or being more talented, or getting lucky one day. But what if the real difference is something much smaller? Something quieter. Something that happens when most of the world is still asleep. Here's the truth no one tells you. Your life direction is often decided before 7 a.m. Not in big moments. Not in sudden breakthroughs. But in silent mornings that repeat every single day. Today, I'm going to tell you a story. A real kind of story. About a man who had no money. No degree. No powerful connections. Nothing special at all. Except one decision he made early in the morning. That one decision slowly rewrote his future. And here's why you should stay till the end. This is not just a motivational story. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why mornings control momentum, why most people never escape survival mode, and how you can use the same simple habit to start changing your own life, without motivation, talent, or luck. So don't skip ahead. Because what you're about to hear might make you look at your next alarm clock very differently. The man in this story was named Ethan. Ethan was 32 years old. Not young enough to feel hopeful. Not old enough to give up. Stuck in that painful middle. Every night at 8 p.m., while the city was winding down, Ethan's day was just beginning. He worked as a night security guard at a warehouse on the edge of town. Cold nights. Long walks. Silent hours. And a paycheck that disappeared before the month even ended. When his shift ended at 6 a.m., the world was waking up. People opened shops. Parents walked their children to school. Office workers drank coffee and talked about plans. Ethan walked in the opposite direction. Back to a one-room apartment with a thin mattress on the floor. A fan that barely worked. And walls that felt closer every day. He wasn't lazy. That's important. He did his job. Every night. Nog en plant. But hard work wasn't changing anything. Sometimes, as he walked home in the early morning light, he looked through windows. Families eating breakfast. People dressed well, leaving for jobs that seemed to lead somewhere. And a question kept repeating in his head. Is this really it? Is this how my life is going to end? Ethan tried to escape. He applied for better jobs. But without higher education, doors stayed closed. He thought about learning new skills. But after working all night, his body only wanted sleep. Even his mother could hear the exhaustion in his voice. She called once a week from the countryside and asked the same question every time. When will your life get better? Ethan always replied with fake confidence. Soon. I'm working on it. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was working hard, inside a life that was going nowhere. And that realization hurt more than poverty ever did. One cold morning, just as Ethan was leaving work, his phone rang. He almost ignored it. He was tired. His mind was already thinking about sleep. But when he saw the caller's name, his heart dropped. It was his sister. Her voice was shaking. Ethan, you need to come home. Mom collapsed. She's in the hospital. In that moment, sleep didn't matter anymore. He took the first bus to his village. A long, silent ride. Every minute felt heavy. Every thought felt loud. When he reached the small clinic, he saw his mother lying on the bed. She looked smaller than he remembered. Tired. Weak. Fragile. The doctor spoke calmly, but the message was sharp. Exhaustion. Stress. Poor nutrition. She needed rest. Medicine. Better care. Things Ethan couldn't afford. His mother held his hand and looked at him with tired eyes. "My son, I don't have much strength left," she said softly. "Please don't waste your life like I did. Find a way. Promise me." Ethan nodded. But inside, something cracked. After she fell asleep, he stepped outside the clinic. The sky was still dark. The air was cold and quiet. It was exactly 5 a.m. The village was asleep, but a few farmers were already walking toward the fields. Birds were beginning to sing. The day was starting, without him. Standing there in the silence, Ethan felt something new. Not sadness. Not fear. Anger. Anger at being helpless. Anger at working so hard and still failing the people he loved. He whispered to himself, "No more. I won't live like this anymore. I don't know how, but I will find a way." And without realizing it, that promise was made at the very hour that would later change everything. On the bus ride back to the city, Ethan sat by the window, staring at nothing. His body was tired, but his mind was wide awake. At the next stop, a man sat across from him. Mid-50s. Calm face. Clean clothes. He looked settled, like someone whose life made sense. What caught Ethan's attention wasn't the man himself. It was the time. It was barely 6 a.m. The man opened a book and began reading, relaxed and focused. No rushing. No stress. Ethan recognized him. His name was Mr. Liang, a businessman who owned several shops in town. Someone people respected. After a few minutes of silence, Ethan gathered his courage. "Sir, can I ask you something?" Mr. Liang looked up and smiled. "Of course." "Why are you traveling this early?" Ethan asked. Mr. Liang closed his book. "Because I wake up at 4:30 every morning. This time belongs to me." Ethan frowned. "But don't you need sleep?" "I sleep at 9 p.m., Mr. Liang replied. 7.5 hours. Enough." Then Mr. Liang studied Ethan's tired face. "You work nights, don't you?" "Yes." "Security guard." "And when do you sleep?" "From morning till afternoon." Mr. Liang nodded slowly. "So you're awake when the world sleeps, and asleep when the world moves forward." He paused. "That's why you feel stuck." Those words hit Ethan harder than any insult ever could. Mr. Liang leaned forward slightly. "Let me tell you something that changed my life years ago. The hours between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. are not normal hours. They are power hours." Ethan felt a strange feeling in his chest. Hope. Dangerous hope. "But I'm exhausted," Ethan said. "I need rest." Mr. Liang smiled gently. "Everyone says that. Very few change their schedule. Even fewer change their life." He took out a small card and wrote his number. "If you're serious about changing your future, call me. I'll show you what to do with your mornings. But only if you're serious." As the bus stopped, Ethan stepped off with the card in his hand. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about sleep. He was thinking about mornings. That same day, something unusual happened. Ethan didn't go straight to bed after work. Instead, he stayed awake. At 11 a.m., while most people were busy with their day, Ethan sat across from Mr. Liang in a small, quiet cafe. Sunlight filled the room. Ethan felt strange being awake at this hour on a weekday, but also alive. Mr. Liang looked at him and nodded. "You actually came. That already puts you ahead of most people." He pulled out a notebook and placed it between them. "Let me explain why mornings matter," he said. "Right now, your life is survival. Work. Sleep. Repeat. You never build anything because you never have time that belongs only to you." He drew a simple shape of a house. "Think of your life like this. A house needs a foundation. If the foundation is weak, nothing above it lasts." Then he pointed to the bottom of the drawing. "The hours from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. That's your foundation time." Ethan listened closely. 2 hours a day doesn't sound like much, Mr. Liang continued. "But let me show you the math. 2 hours a day becomes 14 hours a week. 60 hours a month. More than 700 hours a year." He looked up. "That's almost 3 extra months of life every year. Time most people give away to sleep and distraction." Ethan's eyes widened. He had never thought about time that way. "And here's the rule, Mr. Liang said firmly. "Those hours are not for scrolling. Not for entertainment. Not for comfort." He leaned in. 1 hour is for learning a skill that can change your income. Anything useful. Anything valuable. The second hour is for your body and your mind. Movement. Reading. Planning. Then came the warning. The first week will hurt. Your body will fight you. Your mind will beg you to quit. He paused. "But if you survive 90 days, you won't recognize yourself anymore." Mr. Liang closed the notebook. "I'll give you 3 months. If you show me real progress, I'll help you move forward. If you quit, don't call me again." Ethan didn't hesitate. "I won't quit." Mr. Liang smiled, like someone who had heard that before. "We'll see." But this time, Ethan meant it. The next morning, the alarm rang at 5 a.m. Ethan did. He jumped awake. His body felt heavy. His eyes burned. Every part of him screamed, "This is a bad idea." His hand reached for the phone. One tap, and the noise would stop. One tap, and he could sleep again. Then he remembered his mother's face in the hospital. The promise he made. The card in his pocket. He sat up. That first morning was brutal. The room was dark and silent. The city outside hadn't started breathing yet. Ethan sat at his small table, half asleep, watching free lessons on his phone. Simple lessons. Basic skills. His mind wandered. His head nodded. But he didn't stop. At 6 a.m., he forced himself outside. Slow steps. Cold air. Empty streets. It wasn't exercise. It was survival. By the time the sun appeared, Ethan felt exhausted, but also proud. That night, he went to work. The cycle repeated. Day 1. Day 2. Day 3. The week felt endless. His body ached. His sleep felt broken. Nobody understood why he was doing this. "You're crazy," someone told him. "Just rest when you can." But Ethan kept waking up. Something strange happened around the end of the week. The pain didn't disappear, but it stopped controlling him. The alarm rang, and he stood up without arguing with himself.
No motivation. No excitement.
Just discipline. And that was the real beginning. Around the third week, something unexpected happened. One morning, Ethan opened his eyes, and the alarm hadn't even rung yet. The clock read 4:58 a.m. For a moment, he just stared at it.
No panic. No anger.
No urge to go back to sleep. His body had adjusted. That morning felt different. His mind was clearer. The lessons he had been watching every day started to make sense. The words stuck. The ideas connected. He wasn't just consuming information anymore. He was learning. His morning walks no longer felt forced. The quiet streets became familiar. The sunrise became something he looked forward to. While the rest of the city slept, Ethan felt like he was ahead of time. Week by week, he noticed changes. His focus improved. His confidence grew. His energy felt stable instead of chaotic. At work, people started noticing too. "You look different," a coworker said one night. "Healthier. Sharper." Ethan smiled but said nothing. He knew the truth. Nothing magical had happened.
No sudden luck. No shortcuts.
Just 2 quiet hours every morning, used the right way. And those hours were slowly turning him into someone new. By the second month, Ethan was no longer guessing. He knew what he was doing. The skills he practiced every morning started to feel natural. He could organize data, spot mistakes, create simple systems that made work easier. One night at the warehouse, Ethan noticed something small. Inventory numbers didn't match. Items were missing. No one could track anything properly. Normally, he would have ignored it. That wasn't his job. But this time, he went home and worked on it during his morning hours. He created a simple system. Clear. Organized. Easy to understand. A few days later, he showed it to his supervisor. The reaction surprised him. This is actually useful," the supervisor said. "Where did you learn this?" Ethan answered calmly. "I study every morning." Word spread. The manager noticed. Then the owner. For the first time in years, Ethan wasn't invisible. He wasn't just a night guard anymore. He was someone who added value. And value always gets attention. On the 87th day of waking up early, Ethan was called into the office. No warning.
No explanation.
His heart raced as he walked in. He wondered if he had done something wrong. The manager looked at him for a long moment. Then spoke. "We are expanding," he said. "And we need someone who understands both the work and the numbers." He paused. "You understand this place better than anyone. And you've already shown you can handle the responsibility." Ethan felt his throat tighten. "There's a position open," the manager continued. "Day shift. Office role. Double your current pay." For a second, Ethan couldn't speak. 3 months ago, he was invisible. Now he was being offered a future. "When do I start?" he finally asked. "Next Monday." That night, Ethan walked home differently. Not faster. Not louder. Stronger. He called Mr. Liang as soon as he reached his room. "I didn't miss a single morning," Ethan said. "I did the work. And it worked." Mr. Liang smiled through the phone. "I knew it would. Now remember, don't stop. This isn't a trick. This is who you are now." Ethan looked at the alarm on his phone. 5 a.m. I won't stop, he said. "I'm just getting started." 1 year later, Ethan's life looked completely different. He worked during the day. He earned more than he ever had before. He moved his mother closer and made sure she had proper care. But the most important thing didn't change. Every morning, at 5 a.m., Ethan still woke up. Not because he had to, but because those 2 hours had become sacred. That's when he learned. That's when he planned. That's when he stayed ahead of his old life. When people asked him, "Why do you still wake up so early?" he smiled and said, "Because success isn't a destination. It's a daily practice." And here's what this story really means for you. Ethan didn't win because he was special. He didn't have connections. He didn't get lucky. He simply used time differently. The hours between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. are quiet. No messages.
No meetings. No excuses.
That's when your willpower is strongest. That's when your future is built. So here's your challenge. Tonight, set your alarm for 5 a.m. Not later. Exactly 5. Decide one thing you will build. One skill. One habit. One future version of yourself. Protect your sleep. Protect those mornings. Because if you do this for 90 days, you won't recognize yourself. And one day, someone will ask how your life changed. You'll know the answer. It started with a simple decision, made before the sun rose. If this story made you think differently about your mornings, don't let that feeling disappear. Hit the like button as a promise to yourself that you'll try waking up early tomorrow. Then leave a comment and tell me one thing you want to build in your first morning hour. I read them. And I reply. And if you want more stories like this, real stories that teach discipline, focus, and life-changing habits, subscribe. Because your future doesn't change in one day. It changes with one decision, repeated every morning.